Okay, thanks everybody for joining. I'm very excited to tell you more about PepPardon. I just wanted to preface and to let you know up front that I am recording this so that if you're not comfortable when we get to the Q&A, have your voice recorded and over the internet later, just you can message me a question through the console. So today I am going to tell you a little bit about myself, and I'm going to also tell you why PepPardon, why I'm doing this. And I'm also going to talk about who the app is for, my vision, our vision, short and long-term vision. Basically, I'm going to walk you through some app features, and then we're going to do some Q&A. I am a Canadian, and I grew up in a very small town. I lived actually beside a dirt road. It's paved now, and unfortunately, many animals were dumped off there. A lot were cats, but we had the few dogs dumped off. And I've just, as a very young child, just gravitated towards strays. I've become a lifelong animal lover over the years. We always had cats, dogs, fish, budgies, etc. And I've evolved into donating to various animal organizations around the world. In 2016, I actually discovered an ecosystem of animal advocates on Instagram that were sharing the at-risk animals at shelters. And being myself, I discovered them and thought, geez, what's going on here? People are pledging, people are sharing, etc., etc. And I reached out to a couple of people that were, pretty big influencers in the community, and they explained to me what was happening. So I originally started out as a networker, and I realized that I just didn't know which rescues to tag. I was curating lists. This may sound familiar to some of you. Curating lists of, rescues located in various states. And I just really discovered that I was doubling efforts of others. So I quickly evolved into a pledger. And the frustration I had with that was, unfortunately, with sharing the animals on a bunch of different social networks, tracking the status of the animal and the pledges over multiple social networks was an administrative nightmare, to say the least. So it was upsetting for me because I really wanted to honor my pledge, because I know how important pledges are to rescues to carry on to their good work. Further to that, social media, yeah, obviously it's very powerful, but Instagram limits tagging and was deleting accounts at the time of people that are sharing too many photos. I think Instagram was deleting accounts because maybe some people were reporting, people that were tagging them on animals. Not everybody, it can be difficult to look at the side pictures of the animals, but turning your head the other way doesn't help them. So Facebook, actually, I've learned, obviously we know that Facebook now owns Instagram, but at the time they didn't. And using Facebook also, as I understand from people that use it more than I do, that there's a lot of limits and violations of people being flagged and asked to take down posts, or posts are taken down without them knowing. And also, obviously, the pledging on the multiple social networks. That's an administrative nightmare for, when a dog does, happily get rescued, how do people track the pledges? So who is it for? Again, I became, I started as a networker and became a pledger. I kind of toggle between the two now. But there's a community of advocates, and everybody on this, in this little diagram here, are integral to saving the animals, to get them out of the shelters, either through adoption or rescued. Fosters are very important, as are pledgers, networkers, the shelters, the rescues. Again, this whole ecosystem, but PepPardon's in the middle, and we want to connect all their all the conversations, basically. So we're really just trying to harness the good intentions and give these, the community of advocates, the ability to take direct action and get money. That's the end of it. And the more money that's raised, the more animals that can be saved. So here we are. Here's our vision. So this is Zeus. This is when I talk to investors. This is Zeus, and his photo and data basically get uploaded to the PetPardon app. For the most part, as I understand, is that the single source of truth, meaning that the shelter has the first instance of the the at risk, or the red list, if you will. They then upload Zeus into the PetPardon app. He's then tracked through the system, and really keeping him on here gives him a higher priority as his time runs out. And I'll explain why I say that, because you can see here to the right, we've got status. We've got some pledged dollars here for him as well. And really, PetPardon is an end-to-end solution. And what I mean by that is to track the entire journey of a dog. So think of Zeus at the shelter when he first gets on that red list. Then, he's shared by the networkers, and probably, sometimes the pledgers are also networkers as well. And his entire journey is tracked. So he's shared, pledges are taken. Best case scenario, obviously, is adoption. But, as we know, sometimes there's a sense of urgency to get him out of the shelter ASAP. So if there's a rescue, that will step up. And of course, you have to have a foster in step with the rescue to be able to save him, and then ultimately adopted. So think of this as a way to amplify your messaging, whereby you have your own rescue Instagram page, and the PetPardon app also has this posted on there as well. So it basically comes together. We want to work with animal organizations to legitimize efforts, increase brand awareness, and basically, obviously, we want this PetPardon to be a tool to secure more money, basically to save more lives. So I'm going to quickly go over the features here, and then I'm going to go to the app. So this is the first screen that you see when you log in, and that's the dog screen. And here you can browse information all in one place. And basically what I mean by that is, of course, you've got the ID number, which is essential to searching for the dog. So you can search by breed, dog ID, dog name, status, and shelter location. And favorites, of course, that's pretty much a cost of entry these days with any kind of application like this, is that you can track the dogs that you've shared and pledged for. And the add a dog feature, I will go through that more in detail when I go to the actual app. But the benefits, of course, of having the search and the favorites is that search gives access to extensive details of dogs and the location all in one place, so that any of those advocates can share, adopt, rescue, or pledge to save a pet. And favorites, of course, again, is you can prioritize the ones still in imminent danger, meaning that if you see a dog needs to be, it's rescue only, and pledge is needed, then of course you're going to be able to toggle through them rather quickly. So going back, you see the little filter here. So that's when you click that button, then you'll come to this screen. And of course, you can filter by status, again, by adopted, rescued, at risk, etc. And as you'll see on the actual live app, we've actually added in the status to the dog's picture to make it even easier. So when you go on and see the tiles of all the dogs, we have added the status on the tile, so you don't have to kind of click into the dog's picture to see the status. And of course, you can sort by breed, dog ID, dog name, shelter location, status again, and total money pledged. And of course, there's benefits to doing this, is that filtering can show you which dogs are most in need, and again, sorting data relevant to you. So if you're an adopter, you can easily go in and see which dogs by breed, etc., that you want to adopt. Again, and pledge, you can see how many dogs have money or don't have money to get them saved. So this screen here, so we've got Stuart here. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the entire screenshot, so you can't see Stuart's picture, but this is the bottom half of Stuart's profile. And on here, there's 3 important things for you to do on this screen. The first one is the inquire about adopting me. And we put that in here because we just wanted to have it so that a person, if they really wanted to adopt Stuart, they could immediately say, make an inquiry about him. So you can just effectively put your name and your email, and it captures Stuart's name, of course, and his ID. And then Pet Pardon, actually, we get a notification that there's been a adoption interest, and then we would then, in the first instance, contact the shelter or the rescue group to let them know there's been an interest. Subsequent versions of the app will have it a little more streamlined, where it will be a direct line into the rescue or the shelter. But coming out of the gate, we wanted to have something so that basically you could inquire about adopting the dog. The next one is the Pledge to Help Me, and this is to me is the one that's really quite important. And in speaking with a lot of rescues and other animal advocates, and myself personally, this being able to do this directly through the app saves so much time. And what we have is that we've built this in so that we can automatically track and curate the pledges for the dogs. And you can, you can network, adopt, foster, and donate more, and rescues can rescue more by securing donations they don't have time to track down. So I'll explain a little bit more about the tracking feature when we go to the live app. And finally, we have the Share Me, and the Share Me works like any other Share Me feature on your phone. So you can share to your social network of choice to increase reach, and just let people know, look, hey, there's a dog here on Pet Pardon app that you should check out and maybe try to help and save. So now we're going to go to the live app here. So when you come to the landing page, you basically, now of course this is the desktop version, which is why I wanted to be able to show you here. It's easier for me to have it up here. So you can sign in with Google. So we're signing in. Hopefully I'm signing in with the right account. There we go. Okay, so as I mentioned, this is the first screen that you're taken to when you sign in. The foster needed, the status is something that we added in. We just kind of just felt that, it was probably useful to have. I personally like it. And, I've gotten some feedback from first users that they like this feature as well. So on this page, if you click into any of the dog's pictures, for example, this guy Mozart, this poor guy was uploaded today. He doesn't have any pledges yet because he was just basically uploaded a couple of hours ago. But as you can see on here, you can favorite Mozart. Go back into favorites. You can see him in here. I already have Lolita in here who's been rescued. I was happy about that, so I favorited her. And going back in to Mozart and Mozart's story. And this is all stuff that you'll see on Instagram as well. So we're basically cross-purposing information so that make sure that the information is consistent. We don't want there to be any kind of information on in one spot and not in the other. We want people to be fully informed. So his information where he's located, again, inquire about adopting me, name, and the inquiry required. So basically your email address, pledging. So right now, we're just taking the person's name and the pledge amount. Basically, we're not taking any credit card information at this point. We wanted to come out with in the first instance, just a way to capture the pledges. We have proprietary algorithm in the back end where if I pledge for Mozart and someone else pledges for Mozart, the system will curate and give the whole tally for the amount of money that's been pledged for him. And Share Me, of course, is the same kind of features. Now, this is because it's the web version. It's going to be a bit different showing than on your phone. And of course, you can make a comment as well. And that's something that, this would be important when if Mozart's been rescued, you could, the rescue group could say, look, Mozart's been rescued, please honor your pledges here. And then the shelter address, and this is something with respect to the shelter address, I'd like to show you guys that if you go to shelters, you can add a shelter here. And this is really important for us to populate the app with the shelter information. And in a second, I'll show you how to add a dog. But basically, having this feature will, I do go and update and update that information as well. But it's, you know, as we ramp up, it'll be important for people to do this themselves. And if you click here, basically it has, these are all the shelters that we have dogs listed at right now on the app. And if you click into any one of those, you can see which dog is located at that shelter. And of course, if you hit here, you will then go back to the dog's tiled page, the profile page, if you will. So it's a nice little way. And if you were an adopter, you could hit, and you know, if I hit this maps, it would go into the map. And then basically, if you were someone who wasn't familiar with San Diego and you wanted to try to find the Humane Society there and you wanted to see Brownie, you could then go and see on the map that you could easily get directions to go see Brownie. So one other quick thing before I get into the add a dog feature is the about, and this is just a video about Pet Pardon and why I'm doing this as well. So at your leisure, you can, you know, take a look at that. If you want to ever get a hold of me, I'm pretty accessible through DM on Instagram these days. But if you want to get a hold of me, of course, you can, you know, your user email and send a question, and I get a notification that there's a question that's come in. And finally, the adoption terms and conditions, that just kind of gives you a little, you know, basically we don't have anything to do with rehoming any of the animals on here. You can read that at your leisure. And basically, if you wanted to share the app, you know, you could scan the link or share the link with your friends. So now back to the dogs page and on here. So one of the things that I really wanted to make really easy for shelters, rescues, and networkers and everybody in the animal community to be able to use the app and get value out of it is the ability to add a dog. So right now, this is the desktop version, of course, and you know, your contact name, I want to make it very clear that if you put your contact name here, you will not be publicly listed as the person that's going to be contacted about the status of the dog. Because I know sometimes when I reshare a post of a dog, people ask me what's happened to the dog, and I don't have the answer. So I realize that's part of the problem within the ecosystem right now. But if we all kind of get in tune and working with one tool, we'll be able to hopefully streamline that process, whereby there'll be a nice, you know, gate of open communication whereby, you know, a shelter posts on Pet Pardon, you know, the rescue rescues it, and then the rescue and Pet Pardon or the liaise or whoever it is lets Pet Pardon know, or there's a way that they can automate and say, look, you know, Rex or Zeus has been rescued. The Pet Pardon app gets updated and everybody, you know, is happy, because then the rescue can secure the pledges, and then we can, you know, basically tell them which rescue to, and with the PayPal information or the payment method, realizing fully that we don't want to be the ones without, you know, getting the confirmation that the dog has left the building, as we say, that to make sure that indeed the dog has left the building, is safe, in safe hands with a reputable rescue. Etc. So basically, the couple of things here is that, you know, when you want to upload the dog, you just go to your, you know, to whatever it is, your desktop, and it'll let you pick a picture from there. So the other thing that I wanted to quickly point out is that most of the fields are required. The URL is not required. However, and when I talk about URL, I'll quickly show you here that when you want to share a dog, what you could do is take a screenshot of this little cutie here. This is the URL here. So this here, you copy the link, and that's the link that goes here. Now, again, it's not a required field, but it will help us. It will help us track the animal and basically have some kind of, you know, so we're not having to sift through. And yes, of course, we can search by the dog's unique ID, but having one of the URLs will help kind of, you know, make that process a bit easier. So that's through the desktop. Now, if you wanted to add a dog through your phone, with your phone, we've been doing some testing, and I have been working with a lovely woman who's on the call today from California, and she uses it's not Repost, but she does use a Repost app, and I actually use Repost It. So these instructions are with using Repost. So same thing, you go, you see a dog. Let me just cancel out here for a second. See this guy here. You paste the URL. So what you're effectively doing is you've got your Add a Dog page open. You copy the link. You go back to the Pet Pardon Add a Dog page. You put the link in there. We'll paste it there. We'll show you here. And then you open the app that you're using. So I, again, use Repost It. So then when you open the Repost app, and I'm sorry I can't show you on here right now, but when you open the Repost app, it will show you the dog's picture. So just like here, the dog's picture will come up. You take a picture of the dog, and then basically that dog's picture will be in your photo library. If you then hit Repost, the caption is copied. So the caption being the story is copied to the clipboard. And then if you hit OK, you'll be taken back to the dog pic. But before you do that, instead of doing that, go and hit paste. You go into the dog story and you just hit paste, and the dog story will populate into the Pet Pardon app here. And then you double hit, you hit paste, you're done. And then, or if you're the original poster, you can just start typing in here. So then once that's done, you really only have to fill out the contact name and the dog's name, and the dog ID is 100% required. You go, you upload the dog image from your photo library in your phone, and then the shelter name, it will, you put it in there, and then it will populate in the back end if it's not there. And then you, if you have an intake date, you put the intake date in there. You can pick from the calendar. And basically, once all that's done, you hit add, and the dog's added. Now, right now, because we want to sort of use the term vet, and I'm not trying to be funny, but what happens then is, and the reason why I'm not showing you is because we actually get a notification in the back end that a dog has been added externally. And the reason why that we don't publish it right away is so that we can do a quick check. And, you know, I mean, there's a lot of funny people out there, people that try to be funny, that we just want to make sure that they're not posting a picture of a monkey or something silly, and that it's legit. And we just kind of do a quick check. And it's not to, you know, to second guess a person uploading it. It's just to make sure that, you know, sometimes we, you know, the unique ID is, you know, transposed, or, you know, whatever it is. We just do a quick check. And then at that point, we publish on the back end, and then the dog appears in the front end here. And that usually takes literally a matter of like 5 minutes. So that's in the first instance. Once, you know, we get ramped up and rolling out, we will basically be, you know, that'll be all automated. And there'll be algorithms built in the back end to sort of, you know, do all that stuff. So, well, I guess I think that's pretty much everything on the app. Now we're going to go to Q&A, but before that, there's a couple of questions that people had submitted to me prior to the webinar a couple of days ago. And one of the questions is, how does Pet Pardon track the pledges? Right. Again, we have a proprietary algorithm that curates and compounds the pledges in the back end. And one of the things that is crucial for us to be able to do that is the ID number. And the ID number is, as we all know, in animal rescue, that's an important number for us to have anyway. So if there's a post that I never repost anything on any dogs if they don't have an ID number. I think it's very rare that there isn't an ID number. It could just be an oversight. So so that's how we track the pledges. And there's another question here. How does a rescue get paid? Well, right now, again, we're only curating and tracking the pledges. So that is what, as I showed you, when you click Pledge to Help Me button, we only take your name and amount you want to pledge. And of course, it will make note of the dog's ID. And then as normal, pledges are only honored if a dog is rescued. So we're not processing the pledges right now. So once a dog is rescued, We will do our best to notify the community and update the status of the dog on the app to Rescued. And once we have confirmation of the rescue group, upon verifying the information, we will also update the post with the rescue's payment details. Now, that's something that hasn't happened yet, but you know, it's in its infancy, and basically that's something that will just go by whatever the rescues want. Like, we certainly don't want to be posting information. Again, until we get complete verification that dog is out of the building and in the safe hands of a reputable rescue, will we, bother and to update the information. We do not want to be that source of information. And then, just as a matter of process, we'll send an email to all the pledgers to notify them, because we'll have the emails noted in the back end as well. So hopefully that'll save some of the administrative challenges of the rescues. So I guess that's it. Before I sign off, I want to ask all of you to be open-minded. We've come out with features that address the issues we've personally had and learned are frustrating for you too. With any new application, it's never the finished or perfect product. It's going to take all of us working together to make it a great tool for saving lives and saving dogs especially. And we've created the Pet Pardon app for the animal community, and we need your continuous feedback to continue to improve upon and add features that will help us save more. And please don't hesitate to contact me directly with any comments or suggestions. And I thank everyone who has given me feedback so far, and hope to speak to you again soon.